Have you ever stood at the boarding gate, clutching your suitcase and a small personal bag, only to have a gate agent look you up and down like you're trying to smuggle a grand piano onto the plane? It's a stressful moment we've all been through. You're worried about whether your bag will fit in those tiny metal sizers, or worse, if you'll be forced to pay an extra $50 or $60 just to gate check a bag you thought was free. For those of us over 60, travel should be about the destination and the memories, not about wrestling with luggage fees or stressing over overhead bin space. But what if I told you there is a completely legal, federally protected loophole that allows you to bring an entire extra bag on board for free? I'm not talking about wearing 5 coats or hiding a purse under your sweater. This is a specific rule that applies to millions of travelers, especially those of us who might be carrying a few more essentials as we get older. And yet, the airlines almost never go out of their way to tell you about it. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on how you can effectively beat the carry-on limit and travel with more of what you need without paying a dime in extra fees. This isn't just a hack, it's actually a right you have under federal law. If you're tired of being nickel and dimed by the airlines or feeling like you have to leave important items behind just to fit into a tiny backpack, stick around. We're going to break down exactly how this works, what you can bring, and how to handle the airline staff so you never have to worry about a baggage fee again. Before we dive into the legal magic words you need to know, do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep bringing you these travel secrets that the big corporations would rather stay hidden. The core of this loophole lies in something called the Air Carrier Access Act, or the ACCAA. Now, I know that sounds like a dry piece of legislation, but for a traveler over 60, it is essentially your golden ticket. Most people think they're strictly limited to one carry-on bag and one small personal item, like a purse or a laptop bag. If you try to bring a third item, the gate agent is usually all over you, telling you that you have to consolidate or pay up. However, the ACCAA explicitly states that assistive devices do not count toward your carry-on limit. This is the third bag rule that no one talks about. Think about what you're carrying. As we get older, many of us travel with a CPAP machine for sleep apnea, or perhaps a bag dedicated entirely to prescription medications, testing kits, or even specialized pillows for back and neck support. Under federal law, if a bag contains only medical equipment or supplies, the airline cannot count it as one of your allowed bags. It is a freebie. You could have your rolling suitcase in the overhead bin, your personal backpack under the seat, and a third bag specifically for your medical needs, and the airline is legally required to let you bring it on board for zero extra cost. Now you might be thinking, I don't use a CPAP machine, so this doesn't apply to me. But hold on, because the definition of an assistive device is much broader than most people realize. It's not just wheelchairs and oxygen tanks. It includes anything that assists a passenger with a disability or a medical condition in performing daily life functions. This includes things like canes, walkers, and even those specific braces you might wear for your knees or back. It also covers your medications. If you have a separate small bag that is dedicated to your pills, your blood pressure monitor, and your insulin, that bag is an assistive device. The beauty of this is that it solves the biggest problem senior travelers face, the fear of losing essential items. We've all heard the horror stories of checked luggage going missing. When you're 25, losing a suitcase full of t-shirts is an inconvenience. When you're 65, losing a suitcase that contains your heart medication or your expensive CPAP machine is a legitimate medical emergency. By using this loophole, you ensure that your most critical items stay with you in the cabin, and you don't have to sacrifice your clothing space to make it happen. I've seen so many people over 60 trying to cram their medical supplies into their main carry-on, leaving them with almost no room for their actual clothes. They end up paying to check a bag because they ran out of room. But you don't have to do that. You can keep your clothes in your standard carry-on and put all your medical essentials in a separate, dedicated bag. This is the first step in taking advantage of the system, recognizing that your medical needs aren't luggage. They are essentials that have their own protected status. The trick, of course, is knowing how to present this at the airport. You can't just show up with 3 giant suitcases and claim they're all medical. There are rules to how this works, and if you don't follow them, you might still end up in an argument at the gate. But don't worry, we're going to get into the specific do's and don'ts of packing that medical bag and the exact phrases to say to the gate agent if they try to challenge you. Before we move on to the how-to portion, I want to emphasize why this is so important right now. In 2026, airlines are getting stricter than ever. They're using automated systems and AI-powered cameras at the gates to flag passengers with too many bags. They are incentivizing gate agents to catch overpackers to generate fee revenue. If you don't know your rights, you are an easy target for these fees. But when you understand the ACAA, you're not an overpacker. You're a protected passenger. In this next part, I'm going to show you exactly how to pack this third bag to ensure it passes every inspection.
We'll talk about the medication hack that can save you a ton of space and how to handle the TSA screening process without getting a headache. You'll want to see this because there's a specific way to label your bag that makes it almost invisible to the fee-hungry gate agents. If you're finding this helpful so far, please consider sharing this video with a friend or a travel partner who's also in that 60-plus club. We've got to look out for each other out there. Stay tuned because we're just getting started with the practical steps to making your next flight the easiest one you've ever had. Now, you might be wondering what exactly you can pack in this magic third bag to ensure it qualifies as an assistive device. The most common item, and the one that gate agents are most familiar with, is a CPAP machine. If you have sleep apnea, that machine is non-negotiable for your health, and the law protects your right to carry it separately. But it doesn't stop there. This loophole also applies to portable oxygen concentrators, nebulizers, and even specialized monitors for heart health or glucose. However, the one that really helps most travelers over 60 is the medication bag. Under the Air Carrier Access Act, a bag that contains only your prescription medications and the supplies needed to administer them, like syringes, testing kits, or even specific cooling packs for insulin, is considered an assistive device. This means you can have a dedicated small duffel or a specialized medical bag just for your health essentials, and it won't count against your one-bag limit. The absolute golden rule you must follow, however, is that this bag must contain only medical items. I cannot stress this enough. If a gate agent asks to see inside and they spot a pair of socks, a paperback novel, or your iPad, the assistive device protection instantly vanishes. At that point, it's just another piece of luggage, and they will charge you for it.
To make this work, you have to be disciplined. Use a bag that is clearly distinct from your regular luggage. Many people find success using a bag that is bright red or has a medical equipment tag prominently displayed. You can find these tags online for a few dollars, and they act as a visual hands-off signal to airline staff. When an agent sees a bag with a medical alert tag, they are much less likely to challenge you because they know the legal headache that follows if they're wrong. While we're talking about making things easier, I want to take a quick second to remind you to hit that subscribe button if you're finding these tips useful. We're constantly researching the latest DOT regulations and airline policies to make sure you have the upper hand when you travel. Sharing this video with your travel group or on Facebook also helps us keep these deep dives coming. It's all about empowering ourselves as we navigate a travel industry that sometimes feels like it's designed to be difficult. Now, let's talk about a lesser-known category of assistive devices, items for postural support. As we get older, those standard airplane seats can be a nightmare for back and neck pain. If you have a medically necessary back support cushion or a specific orthopedic pillow that you need to prevent pain or injury during a long flight, this can also qualify. The key word here is medically necessary. If you're carrying it because a doctor recommended it for a specific condition, like sciatica or chronic back pain, it falls under the umbrella of items that assist with a physical impairment. This can be a huge space saver because those bulky orthopedic pillows take up a ton of room in a standard carry-on. By carrying it in its own bag or as a standalone item, you're freeing up that precious suitcase space for your clothes and shoes. Another pro tip is to carry a copy of the DOT's Air Travel with an Assistive Device pamphlet, which you can easily print from their website. In the heat of the moment at a busy boarding gate, a gate agent might be stressed and forget the specifics of the law. If they tell you that you have to pay for that third bag, you don't want to get into a shouting match. Instead, you calmly use what I call the legal script. You look them in the eye and say, "This bag contains only medical equipment and supplies. Under the Air Carrier Access Act, it is an assistive device and is exempt from carry-on limits." Most of the time, just using the phrase Air Carrier Access Act is enough to make them realize you know your rights. If they still push back, you can ask to speak to a complaint resolution official, or CRO. Every airline is required to have a CRO available, either in person or by phone, to handle disability-related disputes. Usually, once you ask for a CRO, the gate agent will suddenly find a way to let your bag on for free. It's also worth mentioning that this loophole extends to the weight of your bag. Many international carriers have strict weight limits for carry-ons, sometimes as low as 15 or 20 pounds. However, assistive devices are generally exempt from these weight restrictions as well. This is a game changer if you're traveling with heavy medical equipment or a large supply of liquids, like specialized nutritional supplements or saline solutions. While the TSA 311 rule normally limits liquids to 3.4 ounces, medical liquids are exempt from this. You just have to declare them at the security checkpoint. You can bring full-sized bottles of contact lens solution, medications, or even gel ice packs to keep your meds cool, and as long as they're for a medical purpose, they are allowed. This brings us to the TSA screening process, which can be the most intimidating part of the whole trip. For travelers over 60, there's an extra layer of support called TSA Cares. This is a helpline you can call 72 hours before your flight to request a passenger support specialist who will meet you at the checkpoint and guide you through the process. They are specially trained to handle medical equipment and can help ensure that your assistive devices are screened properly without being damaged or handled roughly. Whether you have a joint replacement that sets off the metal detector or you're worried about your CPAP being handled by dirty gloves, having a TSA Cares representative with you can turn a stressful ordeal into a smooth experience. Next, we're going to look at the hidden luggage strategy, specifically how to handle those ultra-low-cost carriers like Spirit or Frontier that are notorious for charging for everything. We'll also cover the specific documentation you might want to carry just in case you run into a particularly difficult agent. You won't want to miss the jacket hack that works in tandem with the medical bag rule to virtually double your packing capacity. This is where things get really interesting, especially if you're flying on those ultra-low-cost carriers like Spirit, Frontier, or Allegiant. These airlines are the final boss of baggage fees. They've turned charging for carry-ons into an art form, sometimes charging more for your bag than for your actual seat. But even these budget giants have to follow federal law. The hidden luggage strategy is all about using the medical bag loophole in tandem with what I call the jacket hack. In 2026, many frequent travelers over 60 are starting to use wearable luggage, specialized travel jackets or vests with 10, 15, or even 20 hidden pockets. Under airline rules, a jacket is an item of clothing, not a bag. You can load those pockets with your heavy electronics, your power banks, your thickest socks, and even your toiletry kit. When you combine a high-capacity travel vest with your federally protected medical bag and your standard personal item, you've effectively tripled your carrying capacity without paying a single cent in extra fees. Imagine the scene. Everyone else is struggling to squeeze their lives into a tiny backpack that fits under the seat, while you walk on with a standard backpack, a dedicated medical bag for your CPAP or medications, and a travel vest that's essentially a third bag worn on your body. This setup is completely within the rules. If a gate agent tries to tell you that you have too many items, you simply point to the medical bag and say the magic words. This is an assistive device containing only medical supplies, and it is exempt under the Air Carrier Access Act. Then you calmly board the plane. It's a feeling of total control in a system that usually tries to make you feel powerless. Just remember the one rule we discussed. Keep that medical bag pure. Don't let a single non-medical item slip in there, where the whole strategy falls apart. Before we go any further, I want to invite you to share your own airport wins in the comments. Have you ever successfully used the medical bag rule? Or do you have a favorite travel vest that you swear by? Your stories help everyone else in this community travel smarter, and I love reading about how you're beating the system. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe. We're building a community of savvy senior travelers who refuse to be pushed around by corporate airline policies. Now, if you want to be truly bulletproof at the gate, you need to carry a paper trail. While you shouldn't need a doctor's note for a CPAP machine or a bag of medications, having one can save you 10 minutes of arguing with a misinformed employee. Ask your doctor for a simple one-paragraph letter on their letterhead stating that you require certain medical equipment and supplies for travel. Keep this letter in the front pocket of your medical bag. Along with that, keep a printed copy of the Department of Transportation's Safety and Accessibility page or the specifics of 14 CFR Part 382.121. When you have the law printed out and a doctor's note in your hand, you aren't just a passenger making a claim. You are an informed citizen exercising your rights. Most gate agents will back down immediately when they see you have the documentation to back up your words. Another piece of the puzzle is TSA Cares. We touched on this earlier, but I want to emphasize how much of a difference this makes for the over 60 crowd. If you call the TSA Cares hotline at least 72 hours before your flight, you can request a passenger support specialist. These are not just regular TSA agents. They are specifically trained to assist travelers with medical conditions and disabilities. They will often meet you at the beginning of the security line and walk you through the entire process. They ensure your medical bag is handled with care and that you aren't rushed through the scanners. This is a free service that almost no one uses, but it removes about 90% of the stress associated with the security checkpoint. It's the ultimate insider secret for a smooth airport experience. As we wrap up this deep dive, it's important to remember why we do this. Travel in your 60s and beyond should be a reward, not a chore. You've worked hard and you deserve to see the world, or just your grandkids, without being stressed about whether your bag is 2 inches too wide or whether you can afford the overhead bin fee. By using the Air Carrier Access Act, the medical bag exemption, and the wearable luggage strategy, you're taking back your power. You're showing the airlines that you know the rules better than they do, and you're ensuring that your health and comfort are never sacrificed for the sake of their bottom line. So for your next trip, here is your action plan. First, audit your packing list and see if you can move all your medical supplies into one dedicated labeled bag. Second, look into a quality travel vest or jacket to offload the heavy items from your main carry-on. Third, print out your paper trail and call TSA Cares to set up your support. When you combine these steps, you'll find that the airport is no longer a place of stress, but a gateway to your next adventure. You'll be the one walking down the jetway with a smile, while everyone else is busy checking their bank accounts to see if they can afford their luggage. I hope this video has given you the confidence to stand your ground and travel with everything you need. If you found these tips helpful, please share this video with your friends, your family, or anyone you know who's planning a trip soon. Let's make sure no one over 60 is getting overcharged by the airlines ever again. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy travels!